Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. We've got an exciting guest to bring to you guys today. We're going to be talking about the intersection of the open web and the creator economy. So Alex Chatfield is an ad executive, entrepreneur, and programmatic ad expert. He is the co-founder and president of Endorsable, a technology venture created alongside CEO Marc Mordoh and celebrity partner Anthony Anderson. The platform sits at the intersection of data, culture, and talent, helping celebrities, athletes, and creators monetize their fan bases and social capital through programmatic digital media. Prior to co-founding Endorsable, Chatfield spent over 14 years across AppNexus, Xandr, and Microsoft. During his tenure, he led the Xandr Microsoft marketplace development team, spearheading curated marketing platforms, and served as the global go-to-market lead for Netflix ad-supported streaming launch. Earlier in his career, he worked as a senior consultant at IBM Global Business Services. He also served as the board of directors for Digital Remedy and co-created the indie board game Bucket Race. Alex, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so I know I just gave a little bit of a mouthful of bio there, but yeah, maybe you can contextualize it for us a little bit. So where'd you grow up? What'd you study? And how'd you end up in the ad tech world?
Yeah, I was born in New York City. I was a Upper East Side baby. When I was born, I had an older brother. So 3 days later, they were out of the city because raising two kids in New York City is pretty tough.
Yep.
So I was really raised on a farm in New Jersey, went to school in Pennsylvania, studied mechanical engineering, really stayed in sort of the Northeast my whole life. It took the global pandemic to get me out of there. I now reside in Charleston, South Carolina.
No way.
Been awesome. Love it here. Great lifestyle. 90-minute flight to New York, so not too far. Got into programmatic advertising very early on at AppNexus. So I was employee 35 there and rode that rocket ship through AT&T acquisition and rebranded as Xandr and then sold into Microsoft. And so I was very fortunate to get into programmatic early on and learn it from the ground up and pick a company that ended up going on to do amazing things. So very fortunate for that.
I love it. So what was the thesis for Endorsable? I know it used to be called ADvolution. When did you start thinking about, how celebrities and personalities and kind of the creator economy might start to influence or be an opportunity for, the traditional programmatic ecosystem in the world that you had operated in?
Yeah, I mean, we operating inside of the sort of open web sphere, always keeping a close eye on what was going on inside of social, and obviously, hard to not pay attention to companies like Meta and TikTok and YouTube and the amazing businesses that they were creating. Influencer marketing came onto the scene and grew so quickly that obviously drew my attention, and so I've been sort of studying the space for a while and trying to figure out a way to expand it into the world that I was more familiar with and into programmatic. We didn't have a direct line of idea to Endorsable. We started with one concept, which was partnering with talent. So we got our start partnering with Anthony Anderson, the actor, comedian, game show host. His biggest shows probably Blackish, but he's done like freaking everything. The original idea was partner with talent and help them expand their brand partnerships. So they already work with some of the most amazing brands. They're in their commercials, and the extent of that relationship sort of ended at the end of the photo shoot. They would do the commercial. Their commercial would then get distributed everywhere, but the talent didn't participate in that distribution. And so that was like the original idea. Like, how could we, help the brand and the talent do more together beyond just the commercial? And the idea kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a lot of questions are popping up from that, but let me start with, the celebrity co-founder, because I think everybody loves to have a celebrity on the cap table. So how'd you meet Anthony? How'd you get him excited to, not only sign off on the business model, but actually get involved in a more strategic way?
Yeah. So that I have to give credit to my co-founder, Marc. Marc had a random sort of connection and relationship into Anthony Anderson, and they both had a mutual friend that spoke highly of Marc, and so Anthony took a meeting with Marc, and it really started as a brainstorm where we all got together and tried to figure out like what is it that we could do together to leverage our expertise in digital advertising and media to expand the business opportunity for Anthony. And the original idea sort of took shape, and Anthony introduced Marc and I into the brand partners that he was working with. So Anthony does Get Real About Diabetes commercials for Novo Nordisk. I'm sure you've probably seen them on TV. He does Smirnoff commercials for Diageo, and so Anthony introduced us into his brand relationships, and we started talking to them about this concept of taking a commercial with a celebrity and delivering it to the households that know and like that celebrity. Both brands said yes, and that's how we got our start. Really, Anthony took a bet on us, and we were able to get some early proof points demonstrated, and from there, we put together the broader business and are working to sort of replicate and expand our starting point.
Love it. All right. How'd you meet Marc? And, obviously coming together with a group of co-founders is a delicate dance. You want to partner with somebody and people who bring different things to the table. So what was it about your relationship with Marc that, made getting married and getting involved in this venture together an interesting partnership idea for you?
Yeah, it's funny you use that term. Marc used that term recently. Your business partner, you're basically married. Like contractually, legally, it's almost the same thing. So
yeah, sometimes you spend more times with your your work significant other than you do your real one, right?
Yeah. So I met Marc. Marc was actually a customer of mine back in the AppNexus days. He was running a independent programmatic trading company called Upwardly Group. He asked me to be on his board of directors. He was always hitting me up for questions and advice, and so I joined his board and helped him with Upwardly Group. He ended up selling that business and exiting, and then randomly sort of called me 2 years later with this opportunity to explore something with Anthony Anderson. So I had known him not super well, but I'd known him professionally because we had interacted, and I knew what he was capable of and being an entrepreneur and successfully exiting a business. And he definitely brings very different skill sets and capabilities to the team that I do. I'm a first-time founder. He's done this before. So that's been extremely helpful as you think through corporate entity structure and legal and accounting and all of these functions that I previously haven't had to pay a lot of attention to. And I bring a lot more sort of ad tech expertise, media, data, relationships, and sort of product strategy. And so it's been a really good combination.
Love it. All right, let's talk about the idea of extending celebrity fandom beyond the creative as a targetable media environment. So, this has been something that is a targeting capability within the four walls of, social media. You can look at somebody, you could partner with a celebrity and say, hey, I'm going to hook into your YouTube account and I'm going to retarget all your subscribers. And I'm going to retarget everybody who's ever, watched one of your videos or ever left a comment, or, there's a lot of targeting capabilities you can do within social media because these celebrities have a relationship with the platform and they have a targetable, addressable first party audience. So we know this has always been something that's an interesting thing to do within the walled garden ecosystem. But I guess without knowing, how do you find interested people around the programmatic ecosystem, kind of that affinity to a celebrity that you might not be able to find, like that you can find within the four walls. Because I remember like back in the day, ComScore had a product where you could like get incremental GRPs by targeting certain TV shows. That were, like there were some things you could do, but I haven't really dove deep into like the capabilities around that from a data perspective. So can you walk us through a little bit? How do you build the audiences associated with the celebrities?
Yeah, great question. So you're right that this type of targeting capability has existed inside of the social walled gardens for a while. It does require sort of certain permissioning and access for the brand to be able to use that. A brand can't just target somebody's fan base using their own brand account. They have to sort of go in through the celebrity's account themselves.
They have to shake hands, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's some work that has to be done, but you could do it. What's been really interesting and something I didn't appreciate when we got into this is that fan signal. Well, there's certainly a lot of fan signal that exists inside of social because people follow different celebrities. There's actually a lot of signal that social doesn't capture around fandom. That's what we've been focused on. So you look at somebody like Anthony Anderson. Anthony has something like 2 million followers on Instagram. There are way more people in the United States that know and like who Anthony Anderson is, but they haven't gone through the effort of following him. There's a good chance they've never liked any of his comments or posts in social. Anthony's not that active inside of social. And so the fan signal inside of social is actually not that great of a signal relative to all of the signal that we aggregate outside of social. So, our world is outside of social, and we've started to piece together all of these different touch points where consumers are interacting and showing a fandom intent or fandom signal outside of those walls. And so I'll give you some examples. There's a number of bio link platforms out there. The biggest one is probably Linktree. If you click on a bio link platform on somebody's social profile page, it's going to open a new tab in your Chrome browser. Okay, there's a Chrome cookie. Those bio links can do a good job of grabbing email addresses. You can subscribe and follow those pages. All right, that's one signal of fandom. ACR, I'm sure familiar with automated content recognition and the technology that exists on the glass of TV screens. You can identify all the TV devices that have watched a specific celebrity's content, and you can put qualifiers on that. Like, I don't want somebody flipping through the channels that didn't actually watch the celebrity's content. I want somebody that watched 60 minutes of programming in the last 30 days. So you can start to identify the TV screens that engage with that celebrity's content. There's specialized websites out there. Like we have a public partnership with ranker.com. Their site asks their users to rank this celebrity over that celebrity. Clearly, people indicating who they like more and who they're fans of. And there's a number of sites sort of that fall into that bucket. You have your ticketing platforms, your merchandising platforms, right? They're selling jerseys with athletes' names on the back of them. There's ticketing platforms selling tickets to people's comedy shows. So there's all this
There's a lot of stuff. So that's like, you're talking about more important signals, maybe even than social. Like, did I buy a ticket? Did I watch a show with a celebrity? Did I go see them at an arena? Like did I buy, like you think about retail commerce? Did I buy their merch? Did I buy some associated licensing product? Like, I never thought about it, but there are so many better signals outside of social.
Correct. Yeah, there are a lot, and nobody has done what we're doing, which is effectively aggregating them all together. One, identifying them, and then two, aggregating them, because the signal exists. It's just very fragmented, right? It takes an enormous amount of work to actually go and put all of these partnerships in place. And so that's the core of what we've done to identify who's a fan of who. And what's been fascinating is, like, that was the original idea, like solve figuring out who's a fan of who, so that brands can now target their paid media to the fans of their spokesperson. And that was a great idea and one capability. But what we then discovered was, oh wow, now that we understand who the fandom is, like, who are the actual people behind those IDs? What's their age? What's their gender? But, like, are they parents? Are they educated? What kind of cars do they drive? What's their political affiliation? What are their interests, psychographics? All of this rich insight. I did not appreciate, talent has never been given that kind of data before. They have no idea who their own fans are. Like they've seen them in a crowded room, they've met them on a street, but they've never been given data on their own fandom, which means the brands they partner with have also never been given that data.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you're able to kind of create this value chain or value exchange with the celebrities that you're working with. You can actually go back and deliver really key insights for them that they could use to inform their own strategies around, what they should be doing in content creation, what types of movies they should or shouldn't be accepting, what types of endorsements to do, what types of products to launch on their own. It creates kind of this rich feedback situation for them as well.
Yeah. And so that's why when people ask us, what do? We like to say we're building a fandom intelligence engine, because it's really providing a new level of intelligence into fandoms that hasn't existed before. All the other platforms out there that have done this sort of like try to support this matchmaking of this brand should work with this talent member, or this talent member should work with this brand. The data set they've all been using is really just social data. And it's all really what we would call talent data, meaning information about the talent's own personal preferences, the products and services that they like, they use, they've talked about. Super important. Like authenticity is a very important component of a brand partnership, but it's been the only component that people have been looking at. And the missing piece has been, are their fans the right customer set for me as a brand? And that's the new piece that we're bringing into that matchmaking equation.
Are you helping on kind of the pre-campaign insights piece? Like, can, let's say, LaCroix come to you and say, hey, rather than telling you like, hey, LaCroix is working with, Selena Gomez on a brand campaign next year, and then you helping them find Selena Gomez fans, could LaCroix come to you and say, hey, give me a short list of 10 celebrities that might be right for my brand? Can you help with like the front end intelligence piece where the strategy teams are thinking about, who are the right endorsers of their products before you get into writing a big 6, maybe sometimes 7-figure check to one of these celebrities or personalities?
That's exactly where we're going. So we've built out a product that we call Talent Matcher. It enables a brand to just take a brief that they've generally already written about the campaign, the objectives, who they're looking to target, and who the consumer is. They can just upload that brief into our Talent Matcher, hit submit. We'll analyze the brief. We'll analyze all of our rosters of talent and find not only an authentic talent partner, but a talent partner whose fan base is the right customer set for the brand. Wow. And so you get out a stacked rank recommendation with all of the underlying data points as to why we're recommending what we're recommending, right? So yeah, you should work with this partner because on March 3rd in this interview they said they use your product, or on this podcast they commented about how they drink your product every morning. So providing real citation and data behind these these AI driven recommendations to give confidence to brands that they're actually making the right decision in the first place. Because it's been that talent brand partnership, there's been a lot of gut vibes and relationships that have been used to do those, and we want to bring more intelligence and more data into that process.
So you talked a little bit about kind of the handshake methodology in which this types of targeting happens inside of social platforms, at least with followers or people who've engaged with celebrities. And I think for the context of social media marketing, that probably is still a pretty strong signal. But when you get outside of those walled gardens, all these other attributes come to play. Do you need the celebrity's permission in order to run this type of analysis or this type of a campaign outside of the 4 walls of social? Like theoretically, if I was LaCroix and I'm working with Selena Gomez and I want to target Selena Gomez fans, I don't need to go back to Selena Gomez and pay her more money in order to do that. But now should I as a good partner? Maybe, but what do you how do you guide brands in the usage of this technology while still creating a fair and equitable ecosystem for the celebrities to essentially participate in the upside that you're providing?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. We get it a lot, especially when we're having conversations out in Hollywood with talent agency managers and talent. Like, wait a minute, are we actually required? So we like to say that we are talent independent, meaning we can, through our network of data sources, build and aggregate a fandom for effectively any celebrity today. Our preferred model is to work directly with the celebrity to tap into whatever first party data they have. Now, the reality is today they have almost none. Most talent has been sort of unconsciously disintermediated from their own fandom. They don't have their own websites. They don't have their own apps. A lot of them don't have mailing lists or email lists. They've sold their products and services through all these other platforms, right? The BioLink platforms, the merch platforms, the ticketing platforms, the social platforms. And so they don't actually have real first party data. But that, I really firmly believe that is going to change. And so for us, like, our future is getting that first party data from them, because they are going to over time get smarter in this area, and we are helping them get there. We are providing a lot of education in this space so that they start to take control. Because when they do a ticketing sales deal, like, we want them to demand that they're at least co-owners of the data, so they know who bought their tickets, or they know who bought their jerseys, or they can co-own the data that these platforms are creating. I'm not suggesting they go and build all of their own platforms to do all of these things. That's not reasonable. But they could co-own the data. And the other reality is that the talent often has these amazing brand partnerships that they've had for many, many years. And so they're in a really good position to actually go introduce this solution and be the face and actually do the selling of this solution to the brand. In which case they absolutely participate in the product and in the
if their team is essentially the one bringing it as a part of the value chain of why working with them, then they can either increase their fee or create a business model that gets them compensated for that piece of the pie.
Exactly.
Very cool. Yeah. Super exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we talked about a lot of kind of the matchmaking opportunities, where the data lives. Let's talk about ROI. So I've spent a little bit of my career working in the contextual targeting components of paid media, aligning media buys specifically inside of YouTube, where you're looking at the vast ocean of inventory on YouTube. Why not run in front of other videos inside of YouTube that either, feature your talent or is contextually relevant to the thing that you're selling, such as like hockey sticks on hockey highlight videos, whatever the case may be. And we saw not only the ability to control the context in which our ads were running, but when you align content with the right context, you also saw KPI performance go up, which was like a nice byproduct. All we wanted was brand safety. And eventually we got alignment from like mindset of the consumer. Like, I'm watching something specifically because I'm in like the buy research mode, or I'm at least like, open to the idea that like right now I'm talking hockey. I want to see hockey stuff. I want to see hockey ads. I want to see hockey endorsements, and I'll action on hockey stuff because that's where my mind is right now. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about like when you align, not everybody is aware of every celebrity. Not everybody likes every celebrity. When you align fandom in the open web and programmatic, what do some of the results look like from an ROI perspective?
Yeah, great question. So we've run a number of tests since launching the business. And so what we like to talk about, because it's a different flavor of contextual. Generally, when people do contextual targeting, it's about inventory context. So I've got a sporting good ad. I want to target sports websites. Great, that creates contextual, inventory context. We like to talk about creating creative context or creative relevancy, because we're delivering a commercial that with somebody's voice and face to the households and devices that know and like that voice and face. And so what we've seen in driving creative relevance is significant uplift in both mid-funnel and upper funnel KPIs, meaning we're able to deliver, as an example, much higher completion rates at a lower CPM because we're able to get people to stop and listen because a voice or a face that they know and like caught their attention. And so we've also seen the same thing with mid-funnel metrics like CTR and clicks driving dramatically more clicks. It's interesting. We ran a test recently, specifically where we were targeting an athlete's fandom versus targeting a general interest, so a basketball fans segment versus a contextual segment, an inventory contextual segment of sporting sites. And we materially outperformed both of those other sort of what we would call business as usual buying practices. And so this really is, the next sort of level of contextual. It's, using, aligning the voice and face of the creative to the fandom that really has not been done at any scale. And honestly, having been in programmatic for 15 years, it kind of blows my mind that this is not a standard buying practice. Like if I have a well-known voice and face, why am I not targeting the people that know and like that voice and face? Like that is something that probably should have been invented and thought about a long time ago. I'm glad it hadn't, because Endorsable wouldn't exist. But that's what we're trying to create as a new buying standard.
I love it. So talk about scale. How big does a celebrity or personality or an athlete need to be in order to have a big enough addressable market on the open web? Like, are we talking only A-list celebrities? Are we talking about B-list celebrities? Are we talking about, guest stars on reality TV? Are we talking about big creators? Like, how big do you have to be to get scale?
Yeah, great question. So we get that a lot. A lot of folks, especially that are coming from social and more the creator space, are asking about that, and they're always sort of translating it to like, how many followers does somebody need to have for this solution to work? My answer to that is it works well for your mid and larger creator. So the solution, we're not yet a good solution for your micro or nano influencers who have 5,000, 10,000 followers. Identifying who their fans are outside of social, extremely difficult. We have some data sources that can identify their fans, but it's very hard to scale that. You're anybody bigger than that. Even your mid-level digital native creator, like we can find their fans outside of social. Certainly anybody that, any athlete, any musician, any actor that has, content on televisions, like they've hit that level, we can identify their fandom, relatively easy and at significant scale.
We talked a little bit about having creators participate in the deal structure, primarily by becoming evangelists of the product itself. What's the monetization structure? Is it a CPM? Is it a data play? Is it, hey, we've got this audience and you're used to just paying me on like just a flat fee for the endorsement itself, the production day, and then the usage, but now I'm going to ask you for an additional media buy compensation structure? Is that, how do you charge for that? Is it CPM? Tell me a little bit about the monetization of the creator audience, especially if the creator is participating with you guys as a business partner.
Yeah, good question. So we can support two different models. We can, it's effectively a data sale at the end of the day. We're bringing to life the creator's fandom as something that the brand can now use to target their paid media. We can sell that on a CPM basis, and we've got a standard rate card for that, or we could sell it as a percentage of media. So sort of your standard data sales model from a pricing perspective. The data is priced very competitively, similar to other audience segments that you might buy off the shelf of your buying platform. And so that's the primary model. The software platform that we provide to the talent to give them insight into who their fandom is, so that they can, and importantly their team, their agents, their managers, can better represent them and present them to brands, that we don't charge for. So that's
interesting.
Free service that we're providing to give insights.
That's a value add to build relationships with the teams.
Correct. Yeah.
That's smart.
And honestly, the early adopters are able to really stand out, because when they respond to a brand's brief, they're not just providing age, gender, and geo data from their social accounts, but they're providing real fandom data about their fans. And like, we now have the capability to take that even further. Should the brand provide a first party customer file, we can also just straight up run an overlap report and see what percent of a celebrity's fandom are the existing customers of a brand. Pretty good predictor of whether future customers would also be in their fandom data set. So we can enable talent to really stand out and better sell themselves, because they get access to data that nobody else has access to today.
As you see a larger percentage of marketers' budgets and media plans being spent on influencer marketing as a primary tactic, how do you see the future of programmatic media buying? I love that the idea that you're not just creating, a data set, you're actually trying to change a buying behavior. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the future headed in kind of this evolution of the creator economy at large, and where you guys sit in it?
Yeah. So creator economy, influencer marketing grew super quickly, mostly on the back of a lot of free distribution, right? Mm. The creator would build a campaign for a brand, post it to their socials, get a tremendous amount of free distribution. And so it would, ultimately perform for the brand. Free distribution has, been decimated over the last 5 years, year over year.
Or it's become completely unpredictable, right? Like somebody with no followers could post a video that goes viral, and then a celebrity could post a video that gets 8,000 views.
Exactly right. The data shows, something like sub 5% of your followers on Meta actually see your own post, right? So the content is no longer being distributed based on that like the fact that somebody is following you. It's being distributed based on the social black box algorithms of the platforms. And so, influencer marketing has become way less predictable in terms of what kind of reach you're going to get. And so there's been, I was talking to Evan Shapiro a couple of weeks ago, and he shared an interesting bit of research that eMarketer just put out, showing that we're hitting a tipping point this year where the amount of spent funding the creator, meaning to build the creative, is going to be exceeded now by the amount of paid media put behind distributing the creative. And so, like, brands have already adjusted to the fact that they're not getting that free distribution. They have to put paid media behind it. All of that paid media, though, has been going into the social platforms. And so where we see the future is, well, hey guys, now we're providing you this bridge to amplify outside of social, so you can get off the small screen of a social feed. You can hit people on their connected televisions at home, still reaching the right audience, because you're reaching the fans of your spokesperson. And so we see a really interesting, pathway to get to sort of shift dollars that are today spent inside of social to be spent across the open web and to larger screens and other devices. And so I'm very excited about that. And, I think the ultimate result for brands will be very favorable, right? Because you're now able to buy media that wasn't really addressable before. And, in a lot of cases, the CPMs are lower outside of social. And so, the brands, we're having some really interesting early conversations with brands about, effectively testing this.
Pretty cool, man. Well, it's a brave new world. Love to see how the space continues to evolve, and especially when the social and the programmatic ecosystems come together. I think that's, what all brands are striving for, is to have more, full channel understanding of their marketing and really knowing, how all parts of the multi-channel buy or the omni-channel buy are working together. So it sounds like you're bringing a cool new component of it to the marketplace. So thanks for spending some time with us to walk the audience through your offering today. If folks want to connect with you directly or follow along or learn more, where do you want to send them to say hi?
They can email me directly, alex@endorsable.ai, or shoot us a note at info@endorsable.ai.
All right. Thanks so much, Alex. Appreciate your time. And for those of you who are at home, if you are watching the show for the first time, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe if you want to see more thought leadership from amazing ad executives in the future. If you're listening, an honest review on whatever podcast platform you might be listening on is how we find a bigger audience organically. So don't forget to do that. And last but not least, if there's a brand marketer out there who wants to figure out how to get more out of their celebrity endorsements or those big, ad buys that they do with these personalities, and then, they just have to leave it to chance to find the right people, or maybe somebody in the creator economy that works with talent that wants to figure out how to learn more about their particular audience, or at the end of the day, just someone who you think would enjoy the conversation that I had with Alex today. Don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will wish you a great day. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.